library and its opening. I looked at some information right before I came over here. In 2018, last year, the year of 2018, we reported, I'll give you the exact number, 68,836 people who visited that library just down the road. When you figure that in the service area, we consider the service area to be a broader area. We go to San Isabel, about 5,000 population. You take 69,000 people and do the math on that. You're talking about 13, on average, every individual in the service area visited that library 13, 14 times. Now we know that not every individual visited. Some people come more often than that. But the purpose of me saying that is that when I came to Pueblo City County Library District 15 years ago, it was really important to me to have libraries that were really positively engaged with their community. And for me, that meant certainly literacy and reading and kind of traditional things that you think about with public libraries. But I wanted to make sure our libraries were busy, that they had a positive impact on the community. The notion of lifelong learning was present in all of the locations throughout the county. So it was certainly a pleasure for me and an honor for me whenever the Board of Trustees for the Library District decided that they would invest in the library here in Colorado City. And that happened through a partnership, as you know, with the Metro District and with others in this community to allow that to happen. The library is at a crossroads right now. There is a library. The library is primarily funded through a mill levy, property tax. That's the primary method of funding for our public libraries throughout the county. There is the expiring library tax. It was passed in 1999. It does expire in 2019. The mill levy that I'm referencing is a mill levy of 0.6 of 1 mil. So it's 0.6 of 1 mil, less than 1 mil. We've done several analyses of this over the past several months. We've known about this for a little while, of course. And if that mill levy expires, then the library district's financials turn upside down pretty immediately. We go from operating in the black, we have 7 libraries throughout the county, to being in the red and upside down. With fund balance, we'd be able to survive 2020, but by 2021, we wouldn't be able to make things meet. So what that means is that we're in the mode right now preparing 2 budgets. And the reason for that is that the trustees studied the issue and came to the decision that we can't be upside down. So one budget that we're preparing is in the event that the mill levy does expire at the end of 2019. And that will be reductions and cutbacks. And I can reference a little bit of that in a few moments. But the trustees also wanted to look at the possibility of asking the voters to extend that expiring mill levy. So they talked to a bunch of people about that. They actually conducted some polls. Likely November 2019 voters. They did one poll back in February. They participated in a community poll that was actually done in conjunction with the county and School District 70, School District 60 more recently, to see how voters felt about extending that mill levy. Also had a lot of conversations with individuals throughout the county, and they posed the notion of reducing services, facilities, and programs of the library versus extending that mill levy. And when they posed the question, they made sure to make it clear that it's 0.6 of 1 mil that they're talking about. And 0.6 of 1 mil for the average home in Pueblo County, which is currently $168,900. That's the average home value. That costs the resident, because it is a property tax, $7.25 per year. It's $4.30 for every $100,000 of 0.6 of 1 mil. So they posed that question of extending that mill levy or reducing the services of the library. And the first poll that they did came back with 79. Once people understood the issue, 79% favored. In other words, 79% of likely voters said you should put that on the ballot, and I would support that if that were on the ballot. They did a subsequent poll, and the subsequent poll, the first poll was in February before all of the various ballot issues were known. They did a subsequent poll in early August, once more the ballot issues were known. And at that point, with all of the other ballot issues that are on this upcoming general election for Pueblo County, the jail, there's a state issue CC, District 70 on the ballot. I know that Colorado City also has an issue on the ballot. It polled 60%, 60% yes. So they took all of that information into consideration, and they made a decision to ask this to be referred to the ballot. So it is on the ballot for November 5th ballot, to extend that mill, that 0.6 of 1 mil, for library services. And as I said, the impact of that on the average homeowner, it's something that homeowners have been paying for the last 20 years, is $4.30 for $100,000 of actual home value. And so the question is really to not have that expire, but to allow that to extend on. And so that is what I wanted to talk to you tonight about. I know that the library here in Colorado City has been very favorably received. I mentioned the number of people who came to the library last year and used that public library. I did want to put in your hands a piece of information. So if you don't mind, I'll just hand this out to you. And this is actually the ballot measure as it's stated. And as you probably know, when you're in Colorado, of course, Tabor applies in terms of writing ballot questions. And this is the actual ballot language. And the way the ballot language reads, it says, shall library taxes be increased? And I've highlighted that first line in yellow. There's certainly other copies here. If anyone would like to have a copy. You'll see the first line says, shall it be increased? And then it goes on down to saying, to be off, which rate offsets a decrease with the expiring tax. So you can't really say, shall it continue, according to Tabor. It has to say, shall it be increased, which rate offsets a decrease. So that's how an attorney would write it. In fact, that's how an attorney did write it. And it is aligns with Tabor, which is state law here in Colorado. It's a little bit of cumbersome language to talk about continue in that way, but that's the way that that's stated. So my purpose here was really just to inform you of that. I also have Susan with me. Susan is working with a group called Pueblo Library Crowd, which is sort of a community advocacy group that is in support of this ballot measure. And so I'd like to turn the podium over to Susan for just a moment. And then if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to address some questions.
Yes, I'm just here to say please vote yes on 6B on the ballot this November. I remember the excitement in late 2012, early 2013 when we found out we were going to be getting a library here in the valley. My late husband and I were thrilled. My husband was on the Metro board at the time that the land was ceded over to the library district, and I was honored to stand in for him because he died about a month before the groundbreaking. So this library means a lot to me, and it meant a lot to my husband, and I know it means a lot to people in this valley. I have spoken about this issue with many of my friends. I posted information on my Facebook page. I have yet to have anyone say they will not vote for it. So I think it seems to be a no-brainer. It's such a small amount for us homeowners to pay for a great amenity in our valley and all throughout Pueblo County.
projections will be 5 to 10.
What does that 0.6 amount to a year?
It generates about $1 million.
About $1 million.
It's actually in the ballot measure there that you have. I think it states at $1.1 million is the actual.
I quit reading.
Yeah. That's the amount that.
What's the number that ballot issue?
6B.
6B.
It'll be ballot issue 6B. And I have copies of this if anyone would like copies. And these out. This is just how the ballot issue reads. Anyone else who has an interest?
I quit after that.
I do want to tell you, we spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of time, I'm sure you're Metro District Manager here on the financial side of how things are working. I know it's really important to make ends meet. The Colorado City, the Greenhorn Valley Library, just so you know, costs about $450,000 a year. That's an all-in number to operate that library. Now, if the $1 million goes away, we're going to have to make that work. Now, I'm not saying we're going to close the Colorado City Greenhorn Valley Library. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have that sort of substantial deficit that you'll be facing, there will be substantial cuts to the library program throughout the county. Every one of our branches, but for the Rawlings Library, the main library downtown, and Pueblo West, are approximately that same amount, about $450,000 to $500,000. So we have 5 libraries that operate in that zone, Greenhorn Valley being one of them. So we've been actually reducing our expenditures over the last couple of years, sort of anticipating this, to try to cut back and reduce and get to a place where once the December 31st hits, that we will be in position as strongly as we could moving forward into 2020. But it will be substantial. We've been meeting and we will be preparing 2 budgets. Because we don't know the outcome of the election, of course, until November 5th, and we have to have our preliminary budget, as you know, presented by October 15th. So we're preparing 2 budgets right now, and there will be significant reductions if 6B fails. I'm hopeful and have some confidence that it won't, but you have to prepare. The prudent thing is to prepare for any eventuality. So we are working on both of those. Most of our costs are employment. So we have to have people there to operate the library. About 55% of our total cost is employment. So it doesn't mean that we'll have to reduce employment in order to make it ends meet. It's very clear to me that that's the case. And once we start reducing employment, it means that we have to start reducing hours of service. That library that's down there, Greenhorn Valley Library, we operated with 2 staff members. And it's really sort of for safety, you don't have just one person there alone. So we operated with 2 staff members most of the time the library's open. Pretty thinly staffed. It's not like we've got a whole fleet of people. So that's throughout the district, more or less that same. So that's sort of the circumstances we're dealing. So I'm glad Susan said what she said. I hope that you will support it. I know there's a lot of, as I said, I know there are a lot of ballot issues coming up. There are a lot of important issues throughout the county.
Anyone else have any questions out in the audience?
I have a question. Where does the rest of the funding come from?
So we have quite a bit of grant money that we receive. There is another library mill that comes in to fund library services as well. So there's actually 2 library mills. One of them goes away, another one continues on. So, and then we have access to what is known as specific ownership tax. We have about $800,000 a year in specific ownership tax. We have a number of grants that we receive. We get a small stipend from the state of Colorado. It's about $100,000 a year. So it's a patchwork quilt of things.
Anyone else?
Yeah, their ballot initiative is 6B and ours is 6C.
So hopefully everybody knows their alphabet.
Yeah, well, yes, yes.
Which way is 6A?
6C is ours ballot.
6A?
Okay, 6C.
I mean, what's 6A? Is that the Pueblo West?
I think so. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, I really appreciate the opportunity.
6B is 5 or 8. Let's see if I can find it. 6A is Pueblo West Metropolitan District taxes.
Item 2, Jill.
Okay, during budget meetings and stuff, we talked about why do we have a land enterprise fund and we have land under our general fund. I don't have an answer. One can't find an answer for it. I've asked the attorney. She had no answer for it when we were up in Keystone. She had no answer as to why we separated them. I tried to get a hold of Sam the last couple of days and it failed. I miss him or he misses me. So that was one of our questions. Is the board worth entertaining putting all of our land into an enterprise fund if we could do it and get going to that point? Like I said, it don't matter either way because land does not affect us with Tabor on our back end. But you know, for some of the situations that we have with the cost, that is on our books wise, as saying that this land is worth 68,000, but yet the land's only maybe worth 6 or 8. So that's trying to get it back to where it's at. So it's just an idea to bring it back to the board, see how everybody felt about it, which direction do you want to direct me at as doing that and putting it into the enterprise fund or keeping it the way it is. You know, it's not, I don't need a vote, I just need some direction.
If I may, so there's no disadvantages that you're aware of by putting it into an enterprise fund?
No, there isn't.
And the one advantage I'm hearing is it won't affect the valuation as much, or it will?
Actually, I think it would help our evaluation because there's sometimes that we have a property that's over in the enterprise or in the general fund that is overinflated by the auditors or whoever made us that number.
That original number.
Yeah, so if we sell 3 or 4 properties in the enterprise fund, but yet we sell this property the same price over here, it's going to put us in a negative aspect.
Because it's gonna take that property out of the asset valuation for
Yes.
government, and it's gonna put it into its own enterprise,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be deflated because you will be showing a loss more in the general fund if that property was the evaluation of that property that we have for that property. You know, it's like
Yeah, if we sell a property for 5,000, which is what it's actually worth, but the books show it's worth 20 or 10, then we're taking a $5,000 loss on the books.
Whereas if we sold, you know, it's like, what was it, about 2 months ago, we sold those 3 properties, or we had 4 or 5 properties there, and we said, well, we'll sell them for $3,000 a piece. Well, there was a couple of them that were in the enterprise fund and one that was in the general fund, which we took a loss in the general fund, but we showed a profit in the enterprise fund.
Well, I would think just for clarification and everything else, that it would be good to put them into an enterprise.
We're waiting for the reply from the auditor though, right?
Yeah, I wanna get a true reading of what he says, you know. Sometimes when you talk to lawyers and auditors, it's like, well, you know, you could do this, but, you know, it's hard getting a definite answer out of it. That's what I want, is I want a written definite answer out of it.
So how do we do that? We do sell it to the enterprise fund?
That's,
They
yeah,
all we
that's
have to do is a resolution.
just a resolution.
Move it. We can actually donate it to the enterprise fund, just send it over there? Yes. Is there a reason not to?
I don't see one unless it's something that was from maybe, the, bankruptcy, that it was moved into the general fund, that Colorado City had it, and then when the bankruptcy came along, they put all the other ones into the enterprise, you know, that that's the only reason I could think that there would be the
If
two
they did it
funds.
to begin with,
Yeah, that they did it to begin with.
do we know when it was done?
No, and then looking and researching on it.
But it's been a long time.
I think some of it was done long before Tabor. And this is some of the issues that's come up during the years. Tabor didn't exist for many years, and then when it's passed it, some of the stuff that was being done, when we look back at old budgets and numbers from years ago, that's why they're kind of off. But now we have to do certain things that didn't have to be done then.
So that's one of those things that just looking into it to figure out if this is something that's gonna be beneficial or not, which this is how it's been run, I guess, for the last 10, 15 years, but trying to find the right answer as to why it was done.
Well, we're starting to sell a lot more property though than we used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that property that we're selling right now, if it's not in that enterprise fund, it's coming into government,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to affect our Tabor.
No, it don't.
No,
Land
it doesn't,
don't affect it.
even in the government side.
It's the asset value that affects us.
Yeah, so if we do sell a property that is their asset valued at for 10,000 for whatever reason, but it was only actually worth 5 and that's what we sold it for.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna show as a negative $5,000 on our books.
Yeah, we lost money on that asset.
And if it's in,
See, and that's the only other negative aspect I see is if it's on our asset side, when it comes to bonds and loans and stuff, that our assets will be moving it into an enterprise, some of our assets, because it's property.
I think I'd wait till what the auditor says.
And that's
Get
one
back.
that's one of the things that I was worried about with it is if you do have if you were for general obligation bond or something for administration side or
it's gonna show
rec,
as assets.
yeah.
Unless the enterprise, the enterprise still counts as assets or no?
No, because it would be under its own enterprise. It will have its own assets. It's like our water department. It
Yeah,
has
so it's gonna have its own assets. It'll be totally separate from the government.
Yes.
But there are, our assets are combined as CCMB assets, right? And one, as CCMB is combined as an asset.
It does in the end, but still when it comes to your water, your sewer, your rec, all of that are individual assets.
So it depends on what the bond is for.
Yeah, so like if it's a water bond, it's going to basically look at the enterprise fund for the water, whether you have a positive or a negative.
Well, I myself would go with whatever the auditor says.
Okay, so that gives me an idea of, in that way I can get more back into it and come out with what we need to. Donnie, did you wanna do this in the workshop or you wanna do it?
Yeah, I would leave it up to the board if you guys wanna discuss that.
You guys asked for
Just a second. Bill, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I was good. You made a couple of comments about selling, you have properties that are overvalued. If we start into transferring assets from one accounting function to another, are we gonna have to reevaluate those, because you can't, you might be accused of just moving numbers around, which aren't true numbers. So the question was, are you gonna wind up having to have somebody reassess the value of these properties that you're wanting to move around?
that was one of the questions I was gonna ask, sent them, if we did do it, are we gonna have to have reevaluations on all these properties and go from there?
Basically, all I'm hearing is basically doing the accounting function as far as assets, and a little bit of difference in how they're put in audit and bonds. But what I hear here is a problem of how that's gonna affect the total assets, whether it's minimal or a lot of money, I don't know. But if your properties that you own are overvalued by $200,000, you could, well, it should be addressed anyway if they are truly overvalued.
So does SDA have resources to
Yeah.
answer some of these things?
Yeah, and that's what I used to is ask them, but like you said, most of the time, you talk to a lawyer there, except if it is an SDA, which I haven't talked to one of theirs, but they have a full, well, you need to talk to your counsel about it first. This is what we recommend.
They check you, so.
It's your counsel. But you should go.
You're getting free advice from us, so you better call your counsel that's gonna charge you.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to, SBA was brought up, I'd like to make a comment about the SBA conference, and I don't know whether it's appropriate now or.
I just said it once.
Okay, I thank you for allowing me to go to the SBA conference as a board member. I found it very valuable. I think that, I would recommend any board member to go to have the opportunity. One of the things that I found in the general conference was that there was about 1,100 people there. So there was a lot of SDAs. And what was interesting was we all have the same problem. We're not alone out here. And the majority of the special districts have issues, not all problems. We certainly have a lot of good things going for us. But the majority of the special districts have a similar problems to what we have, and we're not alone. There's a lot of them have a lot worse problems than we do. And that was really, that was just a relief to find that. It was really valuable to talk to different people in the different districts, myriads of districts, and different kinds of districts, and different kinds of issues. So it was very valuable. I'd recommend anybody go if could. Thank you.
So now you were asking Donnie if he wanted to.
Want to do this as a workshop?
So, like I said, it's up to the board. If you want to talk about it in the workshop,
This is
I'm more just.
No, this will be the colored sheets that you have.
This is the
That's
document for the phasing of the meters that you guys requested with
Yes, sir. I think
hard
it's
numbers,
very
or at least as tight as I could get them for you, with the unknowns out there. So if you guys want to talk about it, I can answer what information I have for you.
You're on.
So on the first page, I went through and itemized everything through my evaluation of the phases that you see here, phase 1 through 3. I tried to, at this point, I felt it would probably be best if we can get the largest percentage of meters in first. So in turn, what you're seeing there in phase 1 are the easiest meters to my knowledge to go after. There, I don't have to dig them up. I don't have to change much. For the most part, as we get through to the back pages, you'll see my percentages of parts involved with phase 1 are less to actually make those changes. So the first page you see is pretty much an overview of those phases, the quantities involved, meter sizes, and total number of meters. As you get to page 2 is where you start seeing the costs involved of the phasing. Everything will correlate across phase 1, quantity of meters, and the cost per unit, depending on size, gives you a tally for each phase. At the bottom, or not the very bottom, but the below phase 3 totals, you'll see a stock item. So the 3/4 meters, which is 99% of the residential meters, for attrition purposes, new construction, we need to keep a stock on hand. That's where you're seeing that stock. of 25. 1 inch is not near as common, but we do have some out there we need to keep in stock for whatever reason. And then one of the bigger meters, which are less common out there, but if we were to get a commercial construction, more often than not, whether they're industrial or just straight commercial, they're primarily going to get a bigger tap, or they want a bigger tap, more water usage. So I'd like to keep one of those in stock. And then down at the bottom, per the quote that you guys got a meeting or two ago, I put in the other 2 items that would be consequentially, they'll be a part of phase 1, but I wanted to make sure those costs were in there for the reading equipment and the software platform to integrate everything to digital. The third page is the install side of things. So minus labor, what you're looking at is each phase, the next 2 pages, I apologize. I'm showing you cost of install per phase, including the hardest part about the install side of things is until there's field survey or you go to a meter, there's going to be possibly some anomalies. You know, you may have a check valve, a double check valve that's 35 years old. We can test those at the point of install, verify whether it's working properly, because they do fail. So I put in a percentage, 25% of each phase as an allotment of looking at check valves. And so on down the line, you'll see meter stops. Some meters are stiff. Some meters probably have never been shut off since they were installed. So brass and water, you get corrosion and things don't want to shut off. So there's an allotment in there of 20% of each phase to deal with those. Some phases you may come in at that number, under that number, or over that number. Meter domes, so that is the top piece through the last 7-8 years of being out in the field as we work on meter pits. Some are broke, some are cracked, some are all of the above. Some of them are a 75 model through 83 model, and they have their own diameter of lid. For whatever reason, the standard was changed. So we have some of those out there that we're going to have to deal with, because the new lids that are coming in are today's standard lid size, and so we're going to have to deal with some of those. So I try to put an allotment percentage in there as well. Meter lids, they're all going to get changed out 100%, the actual outer lid, to accommodate. They have a recessed hole for the antenna, so everything's recessed, it's flat, it's clean, and it's attached, it's not flopping around. And then you're going to see a complete reset. So in phase 1, like I said, that is an area where some of the more recent construction, things were done a little better. I put in a 2% allowance there to looking at just everything about this meter pit is wrong. I need to change the pit, I need to change the lid, I need to change the outer lid, the inner lid, and everything about it. I got to bring the backhoe in to do it. So that allotment is what you see there based on the number of meters within that phase and the cost associated with that. The last section there is total meters for that area. I broke it down further than page 1 so you can know by each route. And then there's an item at the back end, miscellaneous parts. That's a percentage that I took in to try and account for the non-meter parts. You know, you have meters that were tapped 1970. Copper might be thin. As we get in there and start working on it to adjust heights or whatever we need to do, that something may fail or we need to change out something. So I'm trying to put an allowance in there based on a percentage, best guess, to be able to accommodate those. I do believe that number there, we're going to probably stay under that for the most part. But as we get into some of the older neighborhoods, original housing, we may have some issues there. There's a little money there to accommodate that. So as you work through phase 1, down at the bottom, I've totaled the install, plus the meter cost from the previous page for a total cost of phase one installed plus meters. You can see that as you work through all three phases. And then at the end of page 4, you have a complete project cost estimate, meters install and total.
But the install does not include personnel.
Does not include personnel.
It's just part of the
And we're, sorry, if I may, we're going to, you guys were asking to borrow all the money, correct?
Yes.
For everything. Now, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
The first phase here, once you get it installed, how much do you think, and I realize this is blowing a number out of the air.
Nope, I'm not pulling it out here.
Okay, how much do you think we're going to increase our, after the first phase, how much are we going to increase our income that year?
So I have an operation or a yearly revenue quote that kind of came in. I didn't have enough time to include it with this, but I will get it updated. But I went ahead and did one real quick, handwritten, based on percentages. So in phase one is approximately 38% of the total project. So from year 0 to year 1, we look at having at least 38% of the meters in play. So at a current, what we're at, we're looking at around a 50% loss based on current figures of what we produce versus what we sell. So I went ahead and broke it down 50, 30, 20, 10. So if you were to recoup all 50%, which I think is highly unlikely in that aspect, total project completion, you would essentially double your revenue. So we're looking at a 1.6 million is what we, our revenue off of water annually, water and sewer. And a 50% increase would put that to 3.2. I think that is kind of a pipe dream number. I don't think we're going to hit the 50%, but I've heard different areas do that.
Okay, so how much do you figure after the first?
So after the first, I figure conservatively, I look at it as a 20% recovery.
Okay.
At 20%, you're looking out at 100% completion, $400,000. You're going to get an additional $400,000.
In addition.
Now, year 1, you're looking at a $248,000 increase.
Okay. Okay.
So that's where your 38% of the total project comes in.
Okay. So my idea on this, actually, it wasn't just my idea, but I've discussed it. My view on this is that we cut our loan down a little bit, and we use the money that we're going to be making on the first phase to install the second phase and to install the third phase.
Okay.
So we cut our loan amount down, we cut our obligations down, we cut how much we have to borrow down, and we pay with it as we go.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but my concern I have about doing it in that aspect is right now I got 4 guys. So on top of everything we do already, I got to go put in phase-in meters. So part of that money that we were not going to spend the entire amount in phase 1 would be to bring in 2 people, let's say, to where I can pair them with experienced people and we can integrate them and train them, get them going on. And my ultimate goal is to keep them on beyond year 3. By that time, our revenues increased to support the staff that we've increased. And also know that the meters, that we're only going to get billed for the meters as we order them. They're going to budget bill, but I have to provide them with a PO for the entire allotment. So we can still do that.
I'm not talking about the meters. I'm talking, we
Yes.
pull the loan so we can get the meters all at once. We budget like you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about the install costs. That way we don't have to pay interest on that install cost for project 2, phase 2, and phase 3. That's all I'm referring to is the install cost.
Like I said, still my concern is that having that capital in to accommodate what the budget needs to plan for two people through for 3 years. You got to be able to say, okay, yeah, we're going to hire 2 people, but now you got to fund those 2 people going through 2020. So you're gonna have to have a revenue increase
And
to
phase
accommodate
two
that.
here on the install cost was gonna be 38,000.
Phase two,
Is that what I'm seeing here for the install costs?
You're looking at.
yes, phase two is a considerable, well, it's not considerable, but it's the lowest amount of meters.
And phase three was gonna be 101,000.
Okay, so yeah, phase three is the toughest of all. So phase three, the install costs are 20.
But you're saying the first year, not to interrupt you, but you're saying the first year, we should get how much more into the coffers the first year?
The first year, for just the 38% that you're installing,
Yes.
we're going to be in the realm of $240,000.
We paid for the install cost of 2 and 3 the first year.
Mhm.
And I think we can probably even squeeze a little bit of money out of there for some people.
But you're also only, you pull that in over 12 months.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that, but we're doing this a year by year, right? Phase one is the first
I would
year.
love to see us get it done before 3 years, if possible. It's just a matter of how fast can I go. If I've got 4 people, I can only go so fast.
And
If
then-
I got 6 people, I can go faster.
And then also, correct me if I'm wrong, but after phase one, we're gonna be freeing up some meter readers.
Yes.
So there should be a little bit of more production there too.
So phase one, the only thing I didn't have on here, phase one is going to include the costs of the mobile reading and software platform. So the roughly $8,400 on top of that. You could put it in either the meter costs or the install, but that would be them. You should have the software and the reading equipment in
Yeah.
phase one.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're installing for no reason.
Correct.
Yeah, 3 concerns. How much is this gonna cost overall?
The total cost of the install and meters
Yeah.
is at this point $478
That's without labor.
without
4 million?
$478,000.
478,000.
Yeah, sorry.
When we started talking about installing meters, we were talking about saving money. Now I'm hearing about getting more money to increase staff. That seems to be counterproductive. The third thing that concerns me is being around here and driving around and finding cattail farms in the prairie over the years. I'm not sure that you're going to actually have that kind of recovery that you're speaking from using all that water from the meters. There are lots of areas that aren't even looked at where you could be losing water. And I don't really, to me, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but those numbers don't seem, I wouldn't put my hat on if you're gonna have those kind of money come in from increased reading. Because I don't think you're losing 50% of your production from new meters based on the sample of meters that you gave out several months ago, which was inadequate. Out of those 8 or 9, you only had 1 meter that wasn't performing appropriately. And since it's such a small sample of the 1,100 or so taps we have, I don't think that you can really extrapolate those kind of numbers of a 50% loss off of that 1 meter.
Well, I'm not extrapolating the 50% loss off just the meter. It's the entire what we make versus what we bill. And as far as you having a sense of where we look and what water's on and what water's off, I don't agree with you.
Well,
You don't know what.
Simply stating we produced 10 million gallons, we sold 5 million, and making the assumption based on the sample of meters that you provided, that you're going to recuperate that 50% is not validated.
I'm not basing my stats on that.
Well, my question, where's that other rest of that money going if you're not basing it on that sample? What you're basing the value of this on is that you're going to recoup at least 30% of that water, bill it out, and you're going to have extra money. What if that water is just going on under some piece of shale somewhere and never rising to the top? So that's my concern. There are places that could happen. I don't think you could I'm not disagreeing with that you're going to have increase in your sales, but I don't think you're going to recuperate all of that from just changing the meter.
I don't think we are either, and I stated that. I don't believe you're gonna get 50%.
And you
I
won't-
think
I
we're
don't
in the
think you'll get
20%.
10.
I think we're
If
in
we
the
get
20%.
30% out of it, if you get 30% out of it,
Yeah, and
you're, at least you're taking one factor out of the picture.
So,
Yeah.
you're
okay.
making the assumption that people won't reduce their usage.
I don't disagree with you that there are gonna be some reduction in usage. But I'm not basing all my eggs in one basket. I've got a list of meters where we're in the realm of 40% of our meters are beyond the 20-year lifespan of the meter.
I don't disagree with that. The
So-
information I saw was a sample of the meters that you have tested. What they
Correct.
function.
Correct. So when I go through and make an educated, decision based upon the age of our system, and in this particular case, the age of our meter system, we've got near 80%, 85% of our meters out there are 1996 and older. So they're 22 years old. The recommended lifespan and accuracy on every meter, the standard is 20 years.
I don't disagree with you with these meters. I disagree that that the numbers you're going to generate are actually going to happen. So the fact that we need meters is out there.
So let's let that go. I didn't see who raised their hand first.
Go ahead.
I didn't see either. I want to tell Donnie, first of all, I really appreciate all the work that he's put into this, because obviously he's done a lot of work getting this prepared. The thing that bothers me as a member of the audience, I have no idea what kind of money you're talking about, because you guys up there can all see the facts on the paper. We're sitting out here, we don't have the foggiest idea of what you're talking about.
I know, and I
And to
didn't
me-
get it out this last week. I was gone, and Donnie just
Yeah,
got
and
this.
I understand that. But, we can't just sit out here in the dark. That's why you don't have people coming to your meeting, because we're sitting
And-
here
and
not
what
knowing
we'll
what's
do-
going on.
What we'll do is just kind of a discussion item for tonight. It isn't anything on the agenda. It will be brought back next meeting, and we'll have this.
We can even put
Yeah.
this on the website if
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah, that would be
We'll add more.
good, because, as a member of the public, I need to know what you're doing, what you're doing with your money.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
And part of it is just quite literally a guess.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
But even if we knew what the guess was, we'd have
that's
a
true.
No,
more
absolutely.
informed decision.
And to everybody's defense here, this document was finally able to get it produced this afternoon.
I know.
So I wanted to get it in front of the board so they could come back with me with any sort of questions, revisions, and anything that maybe I missed that I can include. And then from that point, we can put it out for
Yeah.
everybody's review.
I understand, but I think that's putting the cart before the horse, that it should come out to the public first and then the discussion.
Okay, Mike?
Okay, I agree with Bill, this place leaks like a sieve, but even if it doesn't, what you guys are saying here with our meters is we're gonna get a 20 to 50% raise as soon as you put those meters in, cost for our water. That's gonna put me up, pretty close to $130 a month. So, are you guys looking at that part too?
It's gonna put me at about $180.
Yeah, so
Well, I'll give you my other 40 or 50 bucks and
My
help your
thought,
retired person out.
my thought is it's not going to go up that much. Now, I know that's Donnie's projections, but he also produced a document a month or so ago on a study of meters. And when I looked at the document, it doesn't show we're gonna get that much increase. So I don't know where it's at, but I hear you on what you're saying. But one study says we don't have a problem, yet we're told we have a problem.
Oh, I'm sure, but you may have the real problem or you may
That's
not.
right.
So you gotta
We
plan
don't
for both
know.
of them.
Absolutely.
And then, and just to address that too, as far as I'm concerned, that we get all these meters in place, I think we should be adjusting rates once the phase is complete. We've got the meters in place, and if it does increase like he's talking about, then we'll need to adjust the rates accordingly. I mean, we don't need to be, we're not in the business to, we do need to upgrade infrastructure, okay? So I'm not necessarily in favor of throwing that away and not upgrading infrastructure, because we've been doing that for 50 years. And it's gotten us into the situation that we're in. So actually, if we do have some extra money that we can put into infrastructure, I would be for that myself.
See, and the other thing I think we need to look at is if we borrow the money against the bonding thing, or refinance, you have no idea what that cost is gonna be. With the interest rates going down, we may be money ahead to do things and refinance that whole thing, because you don't have the answers yet about the refinancing, because that whole package may not cost you any, well, the bonding thing is set. And so you're not gonna see an increase in your millage. And so if we can do things infrastructurally, because we have so many skids really right now that are in bad shape. What's gonna happen in 3 months when we don't have water? Because
I
things
know
are
that, but
tearing
he
down.
said what I wanted to hear, is that you will look at adjusting the rates.
Which is a novel
Yeah.
concept for
Yeah.
government.
Yes.
Well, not for this person.
I would like to explain, okay, so say your water bill's $100, it doesn't mean it's going up to $130. 43 of that is your sewer and DOLA fees. 2737 is the base rate on your sewer, or I'm sorry, on your water. So of the $30 that's left, that will go up 30%. So you're looking more like $9. So it's, you have to take your sewer charges off there, take your base charges off there, and look at your water usage. That's what will go up, not your entire bill. So, I mean, just to, so you don't, you know, because nobody wants their
Yeah, we
entire
got our
bill
bills
to go up
spiked.
30%. That's a little
So all I
scary.
ever do is pay it.
So it's just your water
And we thank you
usage
for
part.
that.
Well, yes, we do. It's just your water usage part that's going to increase, not your entire bill that you get from us.
We do need to, ourselves and the citizens, the public, understand, we have a problem. We're losing half of our water. So regardless of how we do it, we have to fix that. And that's what, the low hanging fruit is the meters. If we go after the meters, the old meters, the meters that I was talking to meter people up at the conference, and they were astounded that we have meters that old and we haven't worked at all. And they said that it isn't that the meters wear out as much as they get clogged. They don't turn. This one gentleman I was talking to from one of the other districts said they put their meters and they replaced their meters. They did see an increase of 35% revenue immediately. Another gentleman I was talking to, he said they found a meter that wasn't as old as ours, and you could flush a toilet and it wouldn't turn the meter. We have a problem, and the low-hanging fruit being the meters, that looks like something we ought to attack.
So,
And
and just
beyond
to
that,
address
look at the leaks.
everybody's concerns too of, if it's on the low end, so at 10%, let's say we recover 10% of the 50, you're looking at a $120,000 to $125,000 increase upon what our revenue is this point. So I mean,
Per year.
per year.
After
And
phase
that,
one or after
that
four?
would be after all three phases.
After all three.
So 38% of 125.
That would still pay it off in 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
45.
I'm sorry, it'd be 178, but 125 is the 38%.
Okay.
Okay, quickly, will you make sure we get a copy of those figures tonight?
Of the
numbers.
percentage,
No,
okay.
the dollars.
yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of handwritten. I'd like to put it in a
Fine, I don't
format
care if
that's
it's handwritten.
more little bit, but yeah,
And-
I get those two.
And we can put this on the website, correct?
Yes.
You got the bond.
Ron will be here and put it up.
All right, we'll call the study session closed. We'll immediately move into the regular meeting, calling it to order at 6:55. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Those of you so inclined, please join me in a moment of silence.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let the minutes reflect all the board members are present. Well, they're all here. I need, when you've had a chance
for a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. We'll move the agenda the amended agenda be approved. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. After you have a second to take a look at the minutes of the study work session and regular meeting of September 10th, I would entertain a motion to approve that. Mr. Chairman, due to the statement we placed on each set of minutes, I would move that we accept